Have you ever watched your cat take a few polite sips of water, then walk away like, yep, that should cover me for the day? Meanwhile, you're standing there thinking, that can't possibly be enough. And here's the uncomfortable part. It might not be. Because cats don't drink water the way we expect them to. They don't walk around hydrating like tiny gym influencers with emotional support water bottles. They sip, occasionally, and then rely on something else entirely. So now the question becomes, if your cat isn't getting most of their hydration from the water bowl, where are they supposed to get it? And more importantly, what happens when they don't? Because this is where things get a little quiet. No obvious symptoms, no dramatic warning signs. Just a system, slowly working harder than it should. Now, before we go full, everything is broken and we've all failed as cat parents. Hang on, because there's a piece of this most people miss. And it might change how you look at something as simple as what you do with your kitchen scraps. 1. The invisible drought, the real issue. Let's start here. Cats evolved in dry environments, which sounds like they'd be good at handling low water. And they are, but not in the way we think. They adapted by getting most of their moisture from food, not from drinking. So in the wild, a cat eating prey is getting roughly 70% water. Now compare that to dry kibble, roughly 6 to 10%. That's not a small gap. That's a completely different hydration system. Think about this for a second. Your cat might look fine, act normal, play, sleep, judge you silently from across the room, and still be running slightly underhydrated most of the time. Not dangerously, not dramatically, just consistently. And over time, that means the kidneys are doing more work, with less support. Now, here's where people usually go. Okay, so I'll just get a water fountain. Which helps, but it doesn't fully solve the original design problem, because cats weren't built to drink more. They were built to eat their water. And that brings us to something surprisingly simple. 2. The moisture hack most people overlook. So if hydration is supposed to come from food, then logically adding moisture into food makes sense, not replacing the diet. Not turning your kitchen into a science lab with measuring cups and a whiteboard, just small, low-pressure additions. Think of it less like changing everything, and more like quietly tipping the balance in your cat's favor. Now this is where those viral videos tend to sprint ahead and say, just toss vegetables into the bowl and boom, kidney health solved. Yeah, that's a bit of a leap. Here's the more grounded version. Some water-rich foods can gently increase overall moisture intake, if your cat accepts them, and if they're used in small, appropriate amounts, and if they don't interfere with the rest of the diet. So yes, that's a few ifs stacked together, because cats are not exactly known for their adventurous taste palates. You introduce something new, and suddenly you're being stared at like you've violated a long-standing agreement. You know the look, the slow sniff, the pause, the quiet walk away. Message received, loud and clear. But when it does work, you're adding hydration in a way that feels natural to them. No forcing, no stress, no dramatic changes. And over time, those small increases start to matter more than you'd expect. Which brings us to something interesting. One of the easiest ways to try this is something you've almost definitely tossed into the trash without thinking twice. 3. Cucumber. Why some cats actually like it. Cucumber is about 95 to 96% water, which basically makes it edible hydration. Now here's the interesting part. Some cats actually enjoy the texture, not because it tastes amazing, but because it has that light crunch that mimics certain prey textures. So when you dice a tiny piece and mix it into wet food, you're not replacing anything. You're just adding a little extra moisture. Very little. We're talking pea-sized. And here's where people go wrong. They assume more is better. It's not. Too much can upset digestion. And in certain cases, excess minerals like potassium can become an issue. So this isn't a salad for your cat situation. It's more like a subtle upgrade. And if your cat ignores it completely, also normal. Because acceptance is its own process. But this leads to something even more interesting. What if hydration isn't just about water content, but how the body actually uses it? 4. Zucchini, where things get a little more subtle. Zucchini shows up a lot in these conversations, usually with big claims like kidney protection. Let's dial that back slightly. What we can say is this: zucchini is very high in water, very low in compounds that contribute to certain types of urinary crystals, and easy to digest when lightly cooked. That combination makes it a relatively safe, low-impact addition. Not a cure, not a shield against disease, just supportive. Think of it like giving your cat system a slightly easier job. And here's the small detail most people miss. Preparation matters. Raw zucchini can be slightly bitter, which, if you've met a cat, means immediate rejection. Light steaming changes everything. Softer texture, more neutral taste, higher acceptance. But again, tiny amounts. Because the goal here isn't nutrition replacement, it's hydration support. And that brings up a question most people don't think to ask. What about foods that seem healthy, but come with trade-offs? 5. Celery and melon. Where healthy gets tricky. Let's group these together, because this is where things can quietly go sideways. Celery is high in water. Great, right? Also contains sodium. Now, in very small amounts, that's not a problem. But it's not something you casually add without thinking, especially for cats with existing kidney issues. So if you use it, we're talking tiny, finely chopped amounts. Not a snack, a sprinkle. Now, melon rind. This one surprises people. Yes, it's hydrating. Yes, some cats like it. But there's a catch. Sugar. Even in small amounts, it's something to be mindful of. So this becomes more of an occasional treat, not a daily addition. And here's the bigger takeaway from both of these. Healthy doesn't mean unlimited. It means appropriate. Now I'm curious, is your cat the eats anything type or the I will starve before I try that type? Mine once rejected chicken, but ate a houseplant. Explain that. 6. The real shift, thinking in terms of hydration, not ingredients. It's easy to get caught up in which scrap is best, which one is safest, which one fixes the problem. But that's not really the point. The real shift is this. Start thinking about your cat's diet in terms of moisture, not just ingredients. Because whether it comes from wet food, added water, occasional safe food additions, you're solving the same underlying issue, hydration consistency. And once that clicks, you don't need to rely on random kitchen scraps to save anything. You just make slightly better decisions, more consistently. And that's where the pressure drops a bit. Because this isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about understanding what your cat's body expects, and getting a little closer to that. So remember that moment at the beginning. Your cat takes a few sips, then walks away like the job's done? That's not laziness. That's just how they're built. The only issue is, the modern setup doesn't always match that design. Sometimes the fix isn't big or complicated, it's just small shifts, a little more moisture here and there, and over time, that makes a difference. Alright, I should probably go see why my cat is licking condensation off a glass, like it's gourmet hydration. I feel like there's a lesson in that. FurEver.